I had just moved into a small apartment in Boston to save money during my final year of university. The rent was dirt cheap, but it meant sharing a bedroom with a stranger. His name was Grayson, a tall, pale guy in his mid-20s who barely spoke and always kept to himself. The landlord warned me before I signed. "Just so you know, he sleepwalks, but he's harmless. Don't wake him." I figured, fine, I've dealt with worse. Grayson and I rarely talked. He was polite, quiet, always wore long sleeves, even in the heat. He didn't go out much. I never saw him eat, just sat on his bed and stared at the wall for hours like he was thinking too deeply about something. The first time I noticed it, I woke up around 2 a.m. to the sound of slow shuffling. I opened my eyes and nearly screamed. He was standing at the foot of my bed. Not moving, just standing. Eyes wide open, expressionless. I whispered, "Grayson." No answer. He turned, stiffly, and walked back to his bed. Laid down like nothing happened. The next morning, he acted like he didn't know what I was talking about. He even laughed softly and said, "I guess I've done weirder things in my sleep." I tried to laugh it off, but then it started happening every night. Out of growing paranoia, I started recording our room while I slept. I set my phone on the dresser, facing both our beds. I couldn't take it anymore, waking up night after night to find him standing beside me. But it got worse. In the videos, Grayson would sit up in bed around 1:34 a.m. every single night, same time. He'd sit perfectly still for 10 minutes, then stand. He'd slowly walk over to my side of the room and watch me sleep. Not for seconds, for hours. In one video, he bent down inches from my face. His eyes were open wide, unblinking. His mouth moved like he was whispering something, but there was no sound. The next morning, I asked him again. He just stared at me and said, "I don't remember any of that. Maybe it's not me doing it." That night, I didn't sleep. Around 1:30, I pretended to be asleep, phone clutched in my hand. Right on time, I heard him sit up, then stand. The sound of his bare feet dragging slowly across the wooden floor. He leaned over me. I could feel the weight of his breath. Then he whispered, clear as day, "You're not him, but you'll do." I flinched, sat up, but his bed was empty. He wasn't even in the room. And yet the whisper had come from inches away. I reported it to the landlord. He seemed nervous and said, "Grayson's been here a long time. He's always been odd, but you're the first person he's talked to." I pressed harder, asked if anyone else ever lived in that room with him. The landlord hesitated and finally said, "There used to be another guy, a student like you, moved out without warning, left all his stuff, never came back." That night, I searched the room while Grayson was out. I tapped on every wall until I found a hollow sound behind the wardrobe. I moved it, and behind it was a small crawl space door, painted the same color as the wall. Inside was a narrow, dark space. Old blankets, moldy food containers, a stack of dusty Polaroids, photos of sleeping people, all taken in that same room. Some were torn, some had faces scratched out, all of them had dates, and every single date was marked in Grayson's journal. I found one final photo tucked in the back. It was me, taken 2 nights ago, eyes closed, knife under my pillow. I hadn't shown that to anyone. Then I heard the door creak. I turned. Grayson was standing there, but he wasn't blinking, he wasn't moving, and his mouth was hanging open, drooling slightly. He was sleepwalking. Except this time, he spoke with someone else's voice, a deeper one, older. "This body walks. When I'm done with it, yours will last longer." I backed into the crawl space, phone in hand, shaking. That's the last thing I remember. I woke up in a psychiatric ward. They said I was found inside the crawl space, alone. There was no record of a Grayson ever being on the lease. No roommate, no fingerprints, just my stuff. I don't sleep anymore, but sometimes, when I close my eyes, I hear footsteps. And someone whispering just behind me. You're not him, but you'll do. I moved into that old Victorian duplex because it was close to campus and the rent was dirt cheap. My new roommate, Adrian, already lived there. He seemed normal, quiet, polite, a bit pale, but overall harmless. He said he worked nights online and usually slept during the day. Perfect, since I was always at lectures or working part-time. The house had creaky floors, drafty windows, and doors that stuck. But I liked it. It felt like a place with stories in the walls. Adrian kept mostly to his room upstairs. We'd talk sometimes about books, classes, or food, nothing deep. But I started noticing weird coincidences. He'd reference things I'd dreamt about. At first, I thought I'd mentioned them without realizing. I mean, once I had a dream about my childhood dog, and the next morning, Adrian randomly said, "Golden retrievers are the most loyal, aren't they?" The next week, I had a nightmare where I drowned. The morning after, Adrian casually offered me tea and said, "You looked like you needed saving last night." I hadn't told anyone. I hadn't even spoken that morning. Then one night, I dreamt I was standing at the foot of my own bed, watching myself sleep, and someone was beside me, whispering things into my ear. I woke up with tears in my eyes, and Adrian, across the hall, had his door slightly open, smiling. I tried brushing it off, but it kept getting worse. I'd wake up exhausted, as if I hadn't slept at all. Sometimes I'd have bruises, small ones, on my wrists or ankles. Dreams started blending into my reality. I'd see Adrian in them more often, standing in doorways, behind me in mirrors, whispering things I couldn't understand. I decided to search his room. While he was out one night, I snuck inside. It was cold in there, unnaturally cold. The curtains were nailed shut. His bed looked barely used. On his desk was a worn black book. I opened it. It wasn't a journal. It was a dream log. My dreams. Pages of them, dates, times, details. He had written things I never told anyone. Private dreams from childhood, recurring symbols, fears I'd forgotten until I read them again. He'd written things that hadn't happened yet. Plan 16, he walks through the tunnel again, but this time, something follows. 9:21, he dies in his sleep, but doesn't wake up alone. One entry made, my knees go weak. Tonight, he dreams he's awake, but I'm the one dreaming. Behind me, the door creaked. Adrian stood there, calm, pale, unblinking. He said, "You shouldn't have read that." I tried to run, but I don't remember reaching the hallway. I remember darkness, falling, and the sound of a second heartbeat, too. Close. When I came to, I was in my bed, but it didn't feel like I'd woken up. The air felt thick. My limbs were heavy, the lights flickered unnaturally, and all the mirrors were missing from the house. Adrian brought me food, smiled like nothing happened. He acted normal, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd never really woken up. Every night, the dreams got worse. Sometimes I saw myself standing in a room with no walls, and Adrian would sit at a desk, writing in his book. Each time, he wrote, I'd feel pain, stabs of panic, cold breath on my neck, my skin crawling. I tried calling friends, but no one answered. I tried leaving the house, but every road turned back to the same block. I even smashed the window, but it wasn't glass. It was like black film. I confronted him. He said something I'll never forget. I don't sleep, not really. I borrow dreams. And yours are vivid, beautiful, screaming, sobbing, confusion. It's like a feast. You should be honored. I tried to kill him. I stabbed him with a kitchen knife. He bled shadows, not blood. not human. He laughed and said, "Now you're part of the ledger too. Now every night I dream, but I'm not alone in them anymore. Adrian's always there, watching, writing, and I don't know if I'll ever wake up, because even in daylight I see his smile, and I think he's dreaming me now." My name is Evan. 2 years ago, I moved to Portland for grad school and found an unbelievable apartment close to campus. Cheap rent, decent space, and a roommate already living there named Lucas. He was quiet, clean, and polite. Almost too polite. He never went out, rarely talked unless spoken to, and kept his room locked, even when he was inside. I figured he was just introverted. No big deal. But I started noticing strange things, like how the bathroom door would be locked at 2 a.m. Water, running. But when I knocked, Lucas's bedroom door would open behind me. He'd be standing there, blinking like he had just woken up. Confused. Another night, I passed by his room and heard whispering. 2 voices. I paused, thinking maybe he was on the phone, but one of the voices sounded exactly like mine. I stopped sleeping properly. Every night brought some new dread, scraping sounds from the hallway, the faint creak of floorboards when no one was supposed to be moving. I started locking my door every night, even though I felt foolish doing it. Still, it didn't help. One night, I woke up to the sound of breathing. Not mine. Heavy, slow, deliberate breathing coming from the other side of my bedroom door. I didn't move. I just lay there, staring at the door, heart hammering in my chest. Then, the doorknob rattled. I bolted upright, grabbed my phone, and whispered, "Lucas?" No answer. Just silence. In the morning, I asked Lucas about it. He looked at me with confusion, or the best imitation of it. "Are you sure it wasn't a dream?" he asked, sipping coffee like he hadn't been outside my door with his hand on the knob. I decided I needed proof, so I bought a motion-activated camera and set it up facing the living room. That night, I stayed in bed, pretending to sleep, waiting. The next day, I reviewed the footage. At exactly 3:12 a.m., Lucas emerged from his room. His movements were jerky, like he was forcing his body to walk. He went into the kitchen, opened the drawer where the knives were, took one, and walked straight to my door. Then, he stood there for 42 minutes, just holding the knife and tilting, his head like listening through the wood. Not moving, not speaking. My breath caught in my throat. I fast-forwarded the footage. He never entered, never said anything. Just eventually turned around and walked back to his room. Slowly. Still, holding the knife. I didn't sleep the next night. I barely breathed. And I started noticing something else. My reflection in mirrors. It didn't always match me. Sometimes it moved slower. Sometimes it grinned when I didn't. I was done. I decided to pack up and leave. I didn't care about the lease, the lost deposit. None of it mattered anymore. The apartment felt infected, like the walls held their breath when I walked by. I went to campus for one last class. When I came back to get my bags, I found the key didn't work. Confused, I knocked. The door opened, but it wasn't Lucas standing there anymore. It was me. Same haircut, same hoodie, same scar above the eyebrow from when I fell as a kid. But not quite me. His eyes were too wide, smile too sharp, posture slightly hunched. "What? What is this?" I stammered. He tilted his head, exactly like Lucas had in the camera footage, and stepped aside, revealing the living room. Photos. Dozens of them, all of me sleeping. Some from above, some from just inches away from my face, some from angles that would have required standing over me. I felt my knees weaken. "I'm the one who fits," he said, voice eerily similar to mine. I stumbled backward, heart racing, and ran down the hall. By the time police arrived, the apartment was empty. Not a trace of him, not a single photo, left behind. Lucas had never existed, according to the leasing office. They said I was the only one on the paperwork. And yet, someone had lived there. Someone who knew everything about me. I moved across the country. New job, new life, new apartment. But last week, I woke up to the sound of my door creaking open. My bedroom mirror was fogged, even though I hadn't showered. Written in the glass, like from a finger dragged across the condensation, were 4 words. You don't belong here.